Hey guys, it's Sam with FasterFreedom here. Just going to shoot a video for you guys and show you what we look at when we walk the exterior of a rental property. We just bought this property, I think earlier in the week. So let's walk around the outside of it and kind of give you a feel for what we look at, what we like to see, what we don't like to see, and kind of a feel for the neighborhood. So first off, let's start talking about the neighborhood. So what you want in a neighborhood is you want to have a good mixture of retail properties, and it's okay to have some rental properties, but what you'd prefer is not to have a property or have a neighborhood that has all rental properties. That kind of makes it hard for comparables. It kind of makes it hard. Just having a bunch of renters living in one big neighborhood is not ideal. So what you do like to have is a retail feel to it, which this neighborhood has. Houses in this neighborhood go from about 140,000 to about 200,000, which is a great range for the area we're in. As you saw, all the properties, the neighboring properties, are all very well maintained, which is great for any rehab property you do, whether it be a rental or a retail flip. And as our lovely cameraman Yates has shown you, this property has 3 large gumball trees, and the yard is littered with gumballs, which are not good for anything. Apparently they're only good for one thing: putting them around your houses or your garden to keep slugs from crawling over. Other than that, they're not good for a damn thing. So when we bought this property, we knew that we were gonna have to do something about these trees. Originally, we thought maybe we'd just trim them away from the house, just to kind of keep all the foliage from falling on the trees. You can zoom in there, you'll see that the gutters are just stacked, even though they have gutter guards on them, are stacked with gumballs. It's just not the best look. But what we're gonna actually end up doing here is cutting all 3 of these trees down, just helping keep away everything we can away from the house as much as possible. It'll help with the curb appeal, it'll help with maintenance, it'll just help with everything in general. If you can look over here, you can see I believe a couple of them were already taken down. All right, let's do a loop all the way around the house and we'll show you what I see. First thing you'll see going through here, besides all the gumballs again, is it got this large crack in this driveway. So here you'll see on the driveway, there's a pretty big crack right here. There's about an inch and a half of displacement. So we're gonna go ahead and replace this whole driveway with a brand new concrete driveway, which should last a long time. It should last us the entirety of our owning the property. Let's go ahead and check out the front. So in the front, you'll see that there is no landscaping done on the front of the house. We do have these 3 big, beautiful trees, but no nice looking landscaping. So what we will do is we will plant a couple small bushes in front to kind of get it a good curb appeal. Probably some more evergreen type of bushes so that they're green in the winter, the summer, the fall, all year round. So it gives us a nice curb appeal all year round. Here's a wood siding and a wood garage door. We are gonna keep this siding, we're gonna paint it, and then we're gonna replace this garage door. So when you have fences in between properties, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell whose property it's on if you don't get a survey. We usually don't get surveys on a property. Some people do, some people don't. But one way you can tell is the finished side of the fence. If the finished side is on the outside of the property like this one, this means this one's our fence. So you can see the finished side's over here and the finished side's over here. So this is our fence. And the finished side's on the outside. So you can tell by looking at the fence, getting a survey, or talking to the neighbors. We talked to the neighbors and they mentioned that the neighbors mentioned that the owners of this property had put this up recently. All right, so if you're in the inside of the property, walk in the basement, looking at the foundation and you don't see any cracks, make sure you look on the outside. There's a pretty good crack out here. There's not a crack in the basement foundation of this house, mainly because this is the garage on the other side of this. So there's no basement underneath here, so it's not as concerning. We walked the inside and there's no crack in the foundation, and the outside, the rest of the property has no crack. So there is a pretty significant crack here, but it's not super uncommon here in Missouri with the elastic soil that moves a lot with the heat and the cold. To have cracks in basements, it's something we deal with all the time. A lot of our properties have small to medium-sized cracks in them. This is a pretty good sized one. Fortunately, it's just on the outside of the foundation, right outside the garage. As you can see here, going around the back, it gets kind of hairy. There's quite a bit of these honeysuckle that grow like crazy and are pretty annoying to deal with. Here's some over here in the yard that have already been taken out. So we're gonna go ahead and take all this out. What you're looking at right here, this back patio, everything's gonna be out. You see there's a brick patio right here. We're gonna go ahead and replace this. We don't want any tenants. A, we don't want to spend the money to repair it. B, we don't want any tenants falling off or anything like that, any liability issues. So we're going to take this entire patio, all this other honeysuckle and all these other bushes and branches out of the yard. We want this to be as maintenance free and as clean looking as possible. A little bit different. We might try and do something kind of fun back here. If this was a retail property, we may try and pour concrete over top of it or redo the bricks. But for a rental, we just want it to be completely clean and clear. Here, there is a nice little patio that they can hang out, so we're gonna go ahead and leave that, but everything else is gonna get taken out back here. Another thing you need to look at when walking the exterior of a rental property is the electric. We can tell this electric was recently replaced, A, because it's a newer exterior panel, and B, because the mast goes through the roof. A lot of electric panels put in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s did not go through the roof. They were below the roof line. This one went through the roof line, so that tells you that it's recently replaced, and inside the interior panel is newer. That's another sign as well. Also, you can see these windows. They're aluminum. We are going to replace those. They're in decent shape. There's aluminum exterior window covering, and the interior window is wood, so those are going to get replaced as well. This exterior air handler is in pretty good shape, and so is the interior one, so we are not going to replace this. If this was in a little rougher shape, we probably would. Any of the bigger expenses that cost maybe $2,000 to $5,000, like a roof or an AC, if they look like they're going to go out in the next couple of years, we do replace them. We want to get that capital expenditure up front before we refinance out, as opposed to having to come out of pocket, $3,000 to $5,000 in a couple of years after you've already refinanced and recaptured all your rehab costs. So that is something we do like to take care of up front if needed. Walking the rest of the property, you can see, as I stated, the rest of the foundation's in great shape, the interior and exterior, so there's no cracks, no other issues to deal with in the actual living space in the actual basement. As you can see here, there's several large 80-pound blocks that came with the property. We luckily got to inherit. There's a lot of things that you do inherit with properties. On the inside, furniture, things like that. On the outside, there's potentially a lot of landscaping things you can inherit. A great way to try and get rid of these is to potentially list and try and sell on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or things like that, and try and make a little money on them. But if his time is of the essence and you just want to get rid of them, a great thing to do is to just give them away free. Post them on those different sites and say free, come pick up by a certain date, and it's free. The man holding the camera behind you, Mr. Yates, he's actually taking these to his house to do some landscaping with. So ask around, people may be willing to take these off your hands for free. I'm down here at the very end of the property, and this may not look like a floodplain to you, but it is. Where I'm standing is in a 100-year floodplain, so that is always something you need to check before you buy the property. Half of this lot is in a floodplain. Looking online on the MLS, you can see where the rough line is, where the floodplain is, and between here and the house, about halfway through, is in a 100-year floodplain, and the house is in a 500-year floodplain, which does not require additional insurance. So before we bought the property, we went and paid, I think it was $10 or $15 to get a flood certificate to verify that the house is not in a floodplain, because if your house is in a 100-year floodplain or a 100-year floodway, there's definitely a potential for your insurance company wanting to have additional flood insurance, which is a cost that eats into your cash flow. So luckily, fortunate enough for us, the house is not in a floodplain. The end of the yard is. I can't imagine this flooding, but you never know. Luckily, we got this checked and we don't have anything to worry about. A huge part of analyzing any property, whether it's a rental property or a retail flip property, is the exterior of the home in the neighborhood. When we look at properties, when we're looking to go buy it, we drive around a little bit. We look at the local area. We look at the neighborhood. We drive around, see how the houses are well maintained. When they're running comps, we'll see if they're all retail or all rental. We like to have a good mixture of both. It creates a good neighborhood to live in. It creates good comps for when we're trying to refinance out at the end. So it's important not to only look at your house and only the exterior of your house. It's important to look at the exteriors of all the houses in the direct local area, the local neighborhood, to see how things are maintained. Because when a tenant comes up, or a home buyer, like we said, if you're flipping the property, when they drive up, they're going to see the same things. You want them to drive up and feel like it's a well-maintained, nice, safe neighborhood. Now let's talk about the specific property. It's really important to know what your rehab is going to cost. Now it's pretty easy to know and pretty obvious looking at the inside. Oh, the basement, it needs work, or the kitchen needs replaced. Those things are kind of obvious, but it might not be as obvious walking the exterior of a property. You saw on the outside of this property, there's a couple trees. There's 3 big old trees in the front of the house. We could just kind of trim them up and leave them, but we're thinking long-term. We're thinking the maintenance. We're thinking all those things that could cost us money in the future. So we're going to end up taking those trees down so we don't have to deal with all the maintenance issues and potentially, trees and or potentially branches falling and leaves falling on and the roof and everything like that. So it's important to look at everything and make sure you want to look as clean as possible, but as maintenance free as possible. All right, I'm gonna get this lawnmower started here and go and try and cut the grass. Spring's hitting us, so the grass is getting long. While I'm doing that, could you please subscribe to our channel, like it? We're gonna post great content like this every week. Come on out, you're good, you're good. I got a microphone on. You're gonna be famous, get out of here.